So, folks have been asking me how I'm building or what I'm spending some of my time on building COVID, and you can see what I thought I'd present is my development of new raised beds based on German concept called Hugel culture. You can see that in these raised beds, I fill it up at the base with junk, compost scraps, lumps of tree limbs that fall down. I find whatever will bang into the ground on the corner, on the post, and I generally find that I need to put a center post in there as well. I put them in the ground about 18 inches, and then I buy two 12-foot pieces of roofing, which gives me a 9 by 3 foot bed in this case, or you could make them smaller. I'll fill the base up about halfway up or even a bit more full with just scrap, compost, logs of wood or anything like that. And then on top of that, I then start filling it up with something that's a little bit finer. In this case, to this bed, I added wood chips in there just to sort of get it up near the top. And then on top of that, I will add about 4 to 6 inches worth of compost, depending on what I want to plant in there. You can see I had already planted some peas in there straight into the wood chips, and they've been doing fine. As you can see quite closely, they're enjoying the sun and the extra nutrients that all that stuff provides. And then generally on top of those wood chips, as I said, I'll put compost, and then I'll follow it up with leaf mulch. And again, for this one, I've also planted peas. This is not so much a variety that gives me pea pieces, but is to help provide some nitrogen and help build it good soils. These are two beds I've just finished off. You can see on these ones, because they're a bit closer to the house, I actually edged it in some wood so that people wouldn't potentially cut themselves on the edges of the metal. But you can see on top of this I've got the leaf mulch on top, and then a little bit underneath that is soil that I filled, compost soil that I filled up. The leaf mulch is here. Smells wonderful. It's free from the city's White Street landfill. You just have to have a pickup truck or something like that to grab it, and that gives you a finished bed. Now over time they'll drop, so I'll have to refill it with compost and a mixture of compost and leaf mulch. But you can see this gives me a 9 foot by 3 foot growing location. This bed these two beds I've earmarked for basil in the front one, and in the back one there I'm going to have peppers and eggplants. Hopefully after this week it'll be warm enough to start putting them in here. Because of the cold snap, I thankfully laid off putting them in the ground, but it really should be warm enough to do that because they are raised. It's going to be warmer than the actual soil temperature. I thought I'd generally give you an overhead shot so you can see the two beds side by side. I've surrounded them by wood chips, which one of my neighbors apparently is having some more added to the piles. But they're a nice height. They make it very easy to harvest. They keep the rabbits out. And the groundhog that I now have lurking around. And I decided not to make them out of wood or concrete blocks, because the concrete blocks I found just heated up too much and tended to wick moisture away. And the wood, it rots. The metal should hopefully last a little bit longer. And the side posts I made for these two beds are from cedar, so they should last a good 10 to 15 years before anything. And they look a little bit different. They look very modernistic, I guess. And they were a very quick build to make. You know, sort of at most to build the structures about 30-40 minutes, and then filling the structures takes a little bit longer, depending on how many wheelbarrows of stuff you want to bring in. But that's what I'm building at the moment. More and more of these types of really high raised beds.